Rachel Lynn Drafta, born April 10, 1990 in Korea, was adopted by Bob and Terry Drafta along with her brother Will. The family lived in Portage, Michigan. Growing up, Rachel accomplished many of her goals, becoming a talented athlete in high school and graduating from the University of Michigan in 2012. After a marketing internship, she landed a position as a marketing coordinator for a graphic communications company. Rachel's friends described her as someone with a fantastic sense of humor, a kind heart, and a sweet disposition. Now let's move on to Teresa. Teresa Pat, 43, has been a lifelong resident of Michigan. Teresa was a graduate of Comstock High School and Quinas College, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Education degree. Teresa was married to Richard Cook for 10 years and had 2 daughters. Her last relationship was with a man we'll call Mr. White, an executive at Cal Blue Group. He was a classmate of Teresa's. The woman had a passion for detectives. For example, online, she listed one of her favorite series about a man who operates under the law and fights crime. This story begins with the end of a relationship that lasted a year between Teresa Petto and Mr. White. Little is known about the reasons for Teresa and Mr. White's breakup, except that not all was lost for Teresa as she hoped for their reunion in the future. After all, they had known each other for a long time, and the woman had decided to give them another chance. But it came as a real blow to Teresa when she found out that Mr. White had started a new relationship with a 25-year-old girl who was a marketing executive. According to friends and neighbors, Teresa was resentful of Mr. White's new girlfriend. She had a very hard time getting over his cheating. Teresa constantly discussed her affair with Mr. White, so often that it began to limit her life. Just a few days after breaking up with Mr. White, she asked a neighbor how to purchase a self-defense tool, stating that she could not find it on the internet. When Teresa was unable to purchase a stun gun, she purchased a .22 caliber handgun, and it was at this point that her descent into madness began. In December 2014, Teresa showed up in the parking lot waiting for Rachel to get out of work. When Rachel exited the building, there was a brief altercation between the two, Teresa literally stalking the girl who was Mr. White's new partner. 3 months later, Teresa's landlord filed a police report. He told officers that he was aware that Teresa had made disparaging remarks about Rachel and had recently purchased a gun. He advised that he was very concerned about her mental state and possible reasons for the gun possession. Officers went to Teresa's home to discuss the complaint with her. When the police arrived, they asked Teresa about Rachel and Mr. White, and she said that she no longer had any hard feelings toward them. She also confirmed to the officers that she kept an unloaded gun in a case in her closet. When police found out that the gun was registered to her and was indeed unloaded, they closed the complaint. The gun was properly licensed, the official said, and there were no court orders stating she could not own a gun. In the months that followed, police, neighbors, and friends of Teresa became increasingly concerned about her obsession with Mr. White and his relationship with Rachel. One acquaintance described Teresa as a nervous, unstable, and prescription drug-dependent woman. Teresa talked about how she could not understand why another girl was living in her house and sleeping in her bed. In addition, Teresa would often drive to Mr. White's house late at night and check to see if Rachel's car was parked there. A friend asked Teresa to stop because such compulsive behavior would not do her any good, but she refused to listen to her. The neighbor said that after buying the gun, Teresa repeatedly uttered phrases along the lines of, "I hope nothing happens to the girl or Mr. White because I'll be the first one to get blamed." Given her behavior, she could have attracted the attention of the police. However, she had no history of suspicious incidents in the past. According to a report filed with the hosting police department, Teresa and Mr. White had a child together in May 2011. Teresa told police that she woke up early in the morning of June 24, 2011, and found the baby all purple. She claimed she fell asleep with her spouse lying on the pillow next to her. By 11 a.m., the baby was pronounced dead, an autopsy was performed, and the medical examiner determined that the 3-week-old infant had suffered a skull fracture. Teresa was questioned numerous times by detectives, but they were unable to gather enough evidence to prosecute the case. The cause of death was ruled undetermined, and Teresa was not charged. Was it really a case of sudden death, or did something else more horrible happen? The police chief said the case remains open due to a lack of information. Only 2 people know what really happened to Teresa and the baby. On April 21, 2015, a resident of Rachel's neighborhood reported seeing a woman sitting in a vehicle, shaking her head from side to side for 30 minutes. The woman was identified as Teresa. A month later, on May 23rd, Teresa posted a final cryptic message on Facebook. "Thank you, Mr. White, for making my dream come true this week." Teresa's obsession with the couple has reached an all-time high. She descended into an emotional frenzy and became convinced that something had to be done about Rachel. On June 23, 2015, she made her final decision. Teresa packed a backpack that fit a 22mm revolver, several rounds of ammunition, zipper ties, rubber gloves, trash bags, and mace. She even wrote motivational notes to herself in case she started to doubt her actions. They went something like this: "If I start to doubt, I need to remember what she did and think of them naked together. Picture her waking up next to him where I should be, her in my shower, and her stuff in my drawer, in my bathroom." Teresa had the motive and the means. Now she just needed to find the opportunity. On June 24, 2015, the anniversary of the death of Teresa's child, the woman got into her white Jeep. In addition to the backpack she had previously packed, Teresa carried a machete and a book titled "What You Can't Do." Her destination was clear: Rachel's house. Teresa found a convenient stalking spot and waited a long time for her victim. Finally, a familiar silhouette caught her attention: Rachel. Teresa lunged at the girl, and a merciless conflict erupted between them. Suddenly, a 22mm pistol flew out of Teresa's hand, and Rachel screamed in pain. The bullet hit her ear. Rachel collapsed to the ground. Neighbors later spotted Teresa pacing down the street, knocking on doors of various houses. Witnesses fearfully called the police to report that Teresa and Rachel were scandalizing in the driveway. Police quickly arrived on the scene. Officers squared the neighborhood in search of Teresa. "Where is she? Did you see her? Did you see the gun?" they shouted, demanding that she surrender immediately and get on the ground. When apprehended, Teresa told investigators she was angry at Rachel for dating her ex-boyfriend. She claimed that June 24th was the anniversary of her daughter's death, and that is why she committed the act on that day. Teresa was initially charged with assault with intent to murder and felony assault with a firearm. However, when Rachel died in the hospital 2 days after the incident, the charges were reclassified to first-degree murder. A report from the State Forensic Psychiatry Center found Teresa mentally ill but competent to stand trial, which took place in January 2016. The trial began on Wednesday, September 21, 2016. On the 3rd day of the trial, defendant Teresa Petto pleaded guilty but claimed she suffered from a mental illness. She was sentenced to life imprisonment in 2016. Rachel's brother spoke in court. "Finally, Your Honor, I would like to conclude with a statement that is solely my own. It does not reflect the views of my family, my friends, or my life. It has been 480 days since I received the call of her death, and out of those 480 days, I have thought about my sister every single day, and every time I drive here to Kalamazoo, I relive that day. It seems like a long time ago now. No matter how much time passes, the fact remains the same. My sister is gone. Her life is over. Today is the day my family and I have been waiting for. Today is the day we get the justice we should never have sought. Today is the day we finish the chapter we should never have written. But here we are, and now we have to decide how to write and tell this story without the main character." Rachel was excited to be an aunt. She wanted to move to the big city. She wanted to name her baby. This story is a tragic example of how anger, loss, and mental illness can lead to terrible consequences. This story is a reminder that action must be taken to support the mental health of all people and to tackle the culture of violence and revenge in society.